Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to Picks and Pours, episode 58, where we're going to eventually break down UFC 314. If you guys are audio only, you need to tune into the YouTube. Just trust me on this one. I got one of the Godwin brothers here. It's today is Thursday, April 10th. And yeah, before we get into all the UFC stuff, and I got some big whiskey news as well, let me introduce from a farm somewhere across town, Matt the mechanic. What's going on, Matt? You're muted. I can't hear you.
What's up, Bill? Got my computer fixed. We're back in business. Some guy drove from Fort Lauderdale yesterday to throw the part in. We're good to go.
Wait, a guy drove from Fort Lauderdale to fix your computer?
Yep.
Why?
I don't know. That's where he lives.
Okay.
I don't know. Dell premium support.
Oh, all right. Usually they come from like Pakistan.
No, that's the people you deal with on the phone, which I have to give Dell some props. They were definitely in India or somewhere around there, but they spoke perfect English.
Oh, all right. Do you mind explaining your outfit here? Why are you dressed like a Godwin brother?
I got my suspenders. I'm getting some props for this. Not suspenders, bibs.
Overalls?
In support of Mr. Bryce Mitchell.
Why do you own those?
I didn't. I ordered them on Amazon. Although wearing them around the house, I think they're pretty nice. There's a guy at work that wears them that I think I see what he's doing. Like, I see why.
Does he put like tools in the pockets and stuff?
Like his flashlight and his screwdriver.
Okay. Is this going to be like a thing for you now? Are you going to order more pairs?
Probably not. It's kind of hot in Florida. I remember wearing them as a kid. Like, you'd wear them so hay and shit wouldn't get down in your pants.
Oh,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Everybody knows that.
But
I think I had a pair when I was like maybe in kindergarten.
I figured it's Bryce Mitchell Fight Week. It's pay-per-view. Got my E.H. Taylor. Got my bibs on. I should go get my Trump hat.
What do you call them? You call them bibs?
Bibs.
See, where I grew up, we call those overalls.
Tomato.
No, it's tomato potato on that one.
I think they're called bibs. I think if you Google bibs, the first picture that would pop up
is what a baby wears when you feed them. A bib is like a cloth that goes around a baby's neck while they eat their mush.
No, that's a bib. These are bibs. Yes.
All right, now it's tomato. It sounds like you're saying the same thing.
Well, it seems like Google image search is 50-50 on this too. Half of them are showing like a grown man wearing like what you're talking about, a bib, and then there's some working men, and then there's some scantily clad men in these bibs.
Well, I'm sure Bryce Mitchell's religious views wouldn't agree with that Google algorithm showing scantily clad men.
I think I'm supposed to wear it like this.
Just one of them?
Just one.
Yeah. Do you remember the Godwin brothers? Did you get that reference?
No.
So they were a WWF tag team, and they were hog farmers, and they came out and wrestled in those things.
Oh, I bet they stunk. Oh yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah,
they own a grocery store now.
Oh really? Yeah, they used to come out with their slop bucket, and that would be like their thing. Like they would douse their opponent with the slop bucket. It was gross.
I gotta put this back on. I'm gonna slip a tit. We're gonna get kicked off YouTube.
Yeah, you gotta put a t-shirt on under that. You're gonna get some chafing.
This is fine Dickies made in India denim here.
You have to put the same guy that made those gave you your tech support for your Dell computer.
I wonder what that is. See this hole? What's this hole for? You see it right here?
That's a hole?
Yeah, it's like a hole. Looks like a hole you stick a button through, but there's no button. Mark
Maybe.
Fellows, tell me what this hole is for. You guys wear these things.
Yeah, they wear those. They wear those down under. I'm sure it's probably just to put a pen in or something.
No, there's got to be a
Pen.
button and you can fold them down or something.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are just tuning in, we are not morphing into the village people here. This is just Matt's way of supporting Bryce Mitchell this fight week. But you mentioned you were drinking E.H. Taylor. I happen to be drinking E.H. Taylor single barrel. And
Ooh.
I wanted to jump onto your tradition of drinking E.H. Taylor on a pay-per-view weekend, although I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do that, because if you think it's hard to find now, I don't know if you heard the news about the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Oh, no. What happened?
It is currently underwater.
Oh, Kentucky, yeah. They've
Yeah.
dealt with this before. This happens occasionally there.
No, this was a record-breaking flood in Frankfort, Kentucky, and Buffalo Trace has been closed. The entire distillery and their warehouses are underwater right now. If
Good
you
thing
go,
barrels are waterproof.
are they?
I mean, they don't leak, do they?
But yeah, but they're wood. Aren't they going to swell in water? In any case, I don't know what's going to be salvageable here. If you look at the images, like the whole thing is underwater. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna pull it up here. It pulled me to a New York Post article, but I guess that'll do. Let me see. I'm gonna present, share screen. There. Okay, there's the image. Look at this whole thing's underwater.
It looks like they're going to open on Monday.
Look at all that. Everything's gonna be soaked. It's gonna stink.
I saw a bar owner down there that because this has happened several times, and every time this happens, he floods his restaurant with fresh water.
Why?
Because then the storm water doesn't get in. It's a wild video because he's standing inside his restaurant flooded with clear water, and right on the other side of the glass is the dark water. And he admits it, and he shows that, there's some little areas that'll get a little cloudy, but it's much better than just a restaurant full of nasty Ohio River water. Catfish shit.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty smart idea then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the hell you figure that out, and I don't know how you pre-flood your restaurant, but this guy seems to have figured it out.
I'm surprised nobody's pulled up to Buffalo Trace in kayaks. Like, you got any Blantons?
Yeah, but I've been noticing a lot of Buffalo Trace stuff on the shelves now. Like, it's staying on the shelf because I think people have had enough.
Where?
I mean, Lucan's has, at least 12 to 15 bottles of E.H. Taylor, all the way up to the really, high-end ones.
Yeah, but they stay on the shelf there because they price gouge everything.
Well, that's what I mean. I think people are getting fed up with that shit.
Yeah, because there's better stuff you can get.
And I also noticed Bardstown's now in Lucan's.
Oh, is it really the Origin series?
Yeah.
That's actually really good news because I was driving into Tampa to get it before.
Yeah, they had the one you got me, and then I think there was one other one that was like $10 more. I forget the color. And then there was a green one they have up on the shelf behind the counter.
The green one is the rye. That one's really good.
Yeah, but the other ones are right out there on the main shelf.
Good to know. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to start carrying the Origin series at Publix now. I love Publix because everything's MSRP. But yeah, I think regardless of whether the supply was affected, I think we're going to see another spike in Buffalo Trace prices just because they're going to have to do cleanup and all this other nonsense and probably pass all that cost onto the consumer, I would think.
Yeah, well, they can do whatever they want. I'll keep my one E.H. Taylor every month for the pay-per-view. And I've just been enjoying that Redwood Empire stuff. And since you've introduced me to that, I don't think you can really beat that for me.
Yeah, I think in general we're gonna see a decline in bourbon coming up just because it got so trendy and so many of the distilleries were putting out special bottles that are, $100+ when, even just up until a year or two ago, a really nice bottle of bourbon would be like $65. Like if you wanted like a special occasion bottle, you could get one for 60, $70. Um, Whereas now it's like every time something new comes out, it's over $100, and that's become the new standard. I know prices on everything have gone up, but um, it's just fermented corn. Like, what are we doing here?
I think we can thank Joe Rogan for a lot of that.
Yeah, I do blame Joe Rogan, actually, because Buffalo Trace started becoming scarce around the time he started having them as a sponsor on his podcast. So you get all these Rogan bros out looking for Buffalo Trace. Um, regular Buffalo Trace should be a staple on the shelves everywhere. That should not be allocated. And a lot of places treat it allocated, except for Liquor Depot in Tampa, who knows what's up. They actually put it out on the shelf where it should be. And Eagle Rare and Colonel Taylor up until like 5 years ago used to be available on the shelf as well. But now everything is allocated, and the places are jacking the prices up. It's a shame because it is great stuff, but you know if you're giving me a choice of having to hunt for it and then pay triple what it's worth, or just get something else that's just as good, I'm gonna get something else that's just as good.
Yeah, I'm going to get something else. And then the occasion that you walk into a store and you find like Publix or a bottle of E.H. Taylor for $60, you're like, woohoo!
Yeah, that's just a bonus. But
Yeah.
like, for my money, if I was like really craving this stuff and I couldn't find it, I would grab a bottle of Evan Williams Bottle and Bond for like $17. And in a blind taste test, you might hardly be able to tell a difference.
That'd be interesting. We should do that on the show sometime.
Yeah, let's make it. We should start doing some blind bourbon tastings.
Yeah, do you get those? I've seen those little bottles. You just make up some A and B and
Yeah,
drop
yeah, we
them
can do
off,
that.
and we can do that.
Yeah, put some Malort in one of them.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but let's not get carried away.
It's just a disgusting liqueur. In any case, unfortunate news for Buffalo Trace. It's almost hard to feel bad because of what they put us through for the past few years.
I'm sure they'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
They'll make a special release from that. It's with a hint of floodwaters from.
Yeah. Some of the stories are getting out of hand. My brother-in-law just sent me one from Bardstown, actually, where they're making this special release, and they were like, oh, well, they selected this wood to refurbish Notre Dame after a flood damage or something, and they selected all this wood, and there was some left over, and we got some of it, and we were able to make some barrels, and we put our best bourbon in it, and we aged it for 9 years, and like, this is the release they're coming out with. I forgot what they call it.
How can they age it for 9 years? That just happened.
Maybe it was already aged for 9 years, and then they finished it in these barrels. Let me see what they're calling it.
Hunchback edition.
Yeah, Bardstown Hunchback series. I guess I exchange memes with too many people. It's here we go. It is called Cathedral French oak. Yeah, barrel finish. Yeah, so they finish it in the Notre Dame wood barrels. Be better if they're like, we stole this wood from Notre Dame and then we aged bourbon in it.
Yeah, we stole this wood before we lit it on fire edition.
Yeah, and we toasted it and we put whiskey in it. That'd be badass.
It'd actually be more badass if they used the actual burnt wood from Notre Dame than just some bullshit they're gonna,
Oh yeah.
they got the wood. I call this is a special wood from Notre Dame. It's like, that's a genius from whoever ordered too much wood.
Yeah. Like the power of Christ intoxicates you. That's what they could call it.
Hey Bill, we got a card that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I am too. And you know what? I realized something, Matt. I think my kind of lethargy towards MMA for a while, I can take some responsibility for it. I think it's been partly me. Like I
See, I
just
feel the opposite way because I've been feeling that way this year.
yeah.
Like last week when I was getting my doing my work and getting it ready for the card, and something was acting weird. My computer looked weird, so I rebooted it, and that's when I had the issue. Yeah, I could have went down the road, got my laptop from work, and came back and actually did the show. But to be honest, I just didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it
But
was
this
tough.
card I care about. This is a card that all the memes are coming out. It seems like everybody at work, it's activated the casuals finally, which adds to everything. But it's the sad thing is I don't know when we get another one of these because a lot of the big stars are here and we won't see them for several months.
Well, Dana just announced UFC 316, and the main and the co-main event are great. It's going to be Merab versus O'Malley, the rematch, and then the co-main event is Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison. And I believe that one's in New Jersey.
I'm
not sure.
Newark, New Jersey. Yep, Prudential Center.
Oh yeah, I've been to an event there. That's where I saw John Jones defend his title against the greatest of all time, Chael P. Sonnen.
I mean, that's two great main events, but what else they have? They have Ariane De Silva versus Wang Kong, and
Wang Kong.
Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van are the other fights on this card.
Well,
this pay-per-view, it's got Jim fucking Miller on it. We got some cool stuff coming up Saturday.
Yeah. So let's go. What you want to start with the opener of the main card?
Yeah.
All right. Is that Dan Ige and Sean Woodson?
No, it's Krylov versus Dominic Reyes.
Really? So Dan Ige and Sean Woodson's on the prelims?
Yeah, I think that's the one that closes out the prelims.
Wow. So there's only 5 fights on the main card then.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, 5 because Neo versus Prates got dropped.
Okay.
But and they probably did that because the co-main and main are 5 rounds.
Oh, really? The co-main event is 5 rounds?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. All right, so let's start Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes. Man, this is a rough place to start because all right, Krylov's on a 5-fight win streak. He finished Ryan Spann, went to decision with Volkanovski, and finished Alexander Gustafsson. And Dominic Reyes is a guy, man. After beating Chris Weidman, when he fought John Jones, that fight kind of changed him. He got knocked out in 3 straight fights after that. So 4-fight losing streak. Took like a year and a half off, and then knocked out Dustin Jacoby, and then TKO'd Anthony Smith back in December. Man, I would have a hard time picking who the favorite is here, just because Krylov is on a longer win streak, but And Reyes is pretty inconsistent, but I still feel like it's going to be a pretty close money line. I would say Krylov is maybe minus 120.
180.
Okay.
Opposite one plus 150. I was surprised with these odds. I don't have to think twice to take Dominic here. He's on that 2-fight win streak. Yeah, he's had some losses, but if you look at who those losses are, they're some of the best names in the sport. I even think he's gearing up for another title run.
I mean, he could. This division is wide open for the taking, pretty much. There's, I don't know if Padilla is going to get a rematch or if he's going to, but there's not a whole lot going on in this division, and the UFC does not want Ankalaev staying as the champion just because the way he won the belt was so uneventful. He's not marketable whatsoever. Yeah, they want him out of there. So, yeah, I mean, it's not going to take a lot to get your hands on a title shot in this division. You just got to, have a big finish and then have a big call out.
Yeah, maybe this Saturday we'll see that happen.
So we're taking Dominic Reyes, underdog money, throwing $1 on that one. Okay. Then we got the UFC debut of Patricio Pitbull. And for those who don't know, this guy is an absolute killer. 36 wins, 12 by knockout, 12 by decision, 12 by submission. I mean, that's a beautiful statistic right there. It's very symmetrical. This guy has got a lot of history with Michael Chandler, who's, also on this card and had kind of a similar story. Had a falling out with Bellator, wound up in the UFC. He's coming off of a win in his last fight, but before that, back-to-back losses, one of them to Sergio Pettis. So that alone would make me think that he's an underdog against Yair Rodriguez going into this fight.
Yeah,
Yair,
plus
however,
plus 164.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly due to disrespecting where he comes from, a quote unquote lesser organization, which Bellator and PFL are just falling apart at the seams. And then the GFL is pretty much collapsed. One of their investors didn't follow through on their obligation and they're postponing their first card or whatever. In any case, Rodriguez coming off of the loss to Brian Ortega, but I mean, he was beating the piss out of him before he got submitted, if I remember correctly. And then he also lost to Volkanovski when Volkanovski was, a world beater at, as the champion. So how big of a favorite is Yair?
Minus 198.
Okay. And who are you going with here?
I'm going with Yair here. I just think it's too late for Pitbull. He's my age. I've actually met him twice. He's a really nice guy, but he's one of those guys that fights with his hand out like Cejudo does. And I just see Yair just leg kicking the shit out of him. He's a considerable length, and then maybe those kicks will start landing up top. Or I just see Yair winning this battle just because of age and miles.
Yeah, it's very possible. And it's interesting that they're putting him in there with Yair, who's ranked probably 3 or 4.
I'm not sure.
As his debut. So they're showing him a little respect, but they also like when guys come over from other promotions, the UFC like to throw them to the wolves. They like to give him a really hard fight. Yair's ranked number 5, by the way.
Yeah, beat me.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, they've always wanted Pitbull, and they always when they brought Chandler in, but I think Pitbull is like was the face of Bellator for a while.
oh
So
sure.
I think somewhere in the back of Dana's mind, he wouldn't mind him just taking a loss, and it's kind of settles a question that they've had. It's an unfavorable matchup, but
Yeah, it would settle a debate that doesn't matter anymore because Bellator doesn't exist and PFL is fucking over all their fighters left and right.
aren't
Not
they the
letting them.
same? Bellator and PFL are the same now, right?
Well, PFL kind of absorbed Bellator and then dissolved it.
But I hope Pitbull made his money with Bellator because it seems that it's just too late for him. I mean, I'm sure he's getting paid very well this weekend, but I don't know how long his of a UFC career is going to have. He's a guy that fights a ton of all the fucking time, though. So maybe he'll get
Yeah.
10 in.
I mean, I kind of thought the same thing about Michael Chandler when he came over, and the guy's lost. The guy's lost like most of his UFC fights, and he's in the co-main event. You know,
Yeah, but we'll talk about that
he's had
later. But
6
he's just,
UFC fights. He's lost 4 of them.
but he has when he loses, he has a way of turning a loss into kind of a win. Like,
Mm,
he's not a guy that nobody does like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go get something to drink during his fight. You're going to watch that fight.
that's true. That's true. And I mean, Patricio is the same way. All right. So you're taking Yair at
Minus 198.
minus 198. Okay. So now here's your boy who like pretty much
Here's both of my boys.
that's true because you are a fight nerds guy. I mean, pretty much the entire fan base is rooting against Bryce Mitchell here. I think.
If you watch the press conference, that's definitely not the case.
Really?
No, he was the loudest pop in media day.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of Nazis out there driving Teslas. Apparently. I know because they all carve swastikas into them.
Man, I'm nervous about this fight. Like, I feel like the crazy things that Bryce said, Dana's like, you know what? You can do whatever you want, but this fucked up my day. That day caused me a very bad day. So next fight you're going to get a real fight. Now, Silva has been on fire. He toys with his opponents, but Bryce Mitchell, I made my pick on Monday on this fight and Bryce was a plus 360.
Okay.
It's went all the way down to plus 180, but I'm keeping that pick because people like to forget with all this crazy shit that Bryce says. If a dude gets a hold of you, that's a problem. And he's going to do some unorthodox stuff too. Like he's not doing the normal stuff. He's, he learned in his garage, but I'm definitely not picking this one with my head. I'm picking it with my heart. And I want to take Thug Nasty, and I hope he's sleeping well because this is a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough fight. So Bryce is ranked 13th right now. Silva currently not ranked in the top 15, but when you look at his record, like my goodness, the guy's finished every single UFC fight he's been in by TKO or KO. Came in on the Contender Series in 2023. Since then, 4 straight wins, knocked out Drew Dober, knocked out Melsick, Bagdasarian, knocked out Charles Jourdain, guys that have been around. This guy is, like the rest of the fighting nerds, very exciting to watch. I think no matter how it goes down, it's going to be an exciting fight. This guy's never been finished. So it's going to be a tough one for Bryce because Bryce doesn't have knockout power. He doesn't have great striking even. His wrestling is unorthodox. He's able to get people down, but not in a traditional way. So if he can't submit Silva, is he going to be able to hold him down for 15 minutes?
I mean, I think that's like Bryce's top skill is exactly that. It's on the ground control and eventually getting to the submission. And that's his only path to victory in this this fight, other than the maybe Silva gasses out, but I don't see that happening. This is the first time he's on a main card of a pay-per-view, but I don't, I think the fighting nerds, they have their shit together now. Like he's might never fought on a main card, but he's been standing in the corner of a main card. Like I don't think the shock factor will be a problem here. If Bryce can get a hold of him, it's possible. But if he's just standing up at range, that's not good.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw him get flatlined by Josh Emmett. Now he's going to go against a guy who's a much more technical striker than Josh Emmett and probably has pretty comparable power.
No, I don't think so. Because I remember Josh Emmett was taller than Bryce, and this guy's waist, like he was a good 3 inches shorter than Bryce.
That doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
He's still knocking out Drew Dober and Charles Jourdain. I think Bryce, he finds ways to win fights that he shouldn't. He's very much like Paddy Pimblett in that regard.
Yeah, how good of a striker is Dan Ige? How good of a striker is Edson Barbosa?
Well, how good of a striker was Edson Barbosa in his prime? But yeah,
that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he I guess he didn't. He got submitted by Taporia. That's his other loss, but that's a good loss.
Yeah, that one's gonna age well.
At the time, it wasn't so good, but now you're like, oh, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then he fought Cron Gracie, who doesn't know how to throw a punch.
Oh, I brought some. This is how Bryce thinks the fight's gonna end.
Let's hear it.
I put a lot of dogs down in my day.
Ele disse que matou
those dogs that like to come up to the farm. They kill my animals. They come to harm me and my family, and they come barking. You know what they all got in common? They squeal right before they die.
Oh, my God. Was he talking about killing stray dogs?
Yeah, Silva was messing with him the whole pay-per-view, and I also don't. Not that I have anything against religion. I just don't like when a guy that's getting in a cage fight needs to fall back to religion to justify his success in a cage fight. That's a little weird, but I think it's a stick. Which I'm sure he's a religious guy, but he's just he's doing what he can do to become popular, which is what the UFC needs.
I saw some interviewer was asking him about, do you ever think maybe I shouldn't say some of the stuff I'm thinking? And then he just started quoting the Bible, and I don't know what the relevance was, but it was just awkward.
Yeah, he's got a little bit. If you notice, I like the fighters that have a little character to them, like they're just playing a little bit of a character. And I think that I think Bryce is definitely a redneck, but I think he's just overplaying it to become a more.
Do you really think he's playing though?
No, I think he's what's the term? Like I think he's just adding to the fire. Like he yes, he's a redneck, yes, he's a farmer, but I think yes, he's religious. I think he just kind of plays it up for the cameras, just kind of be more popular.
I don't know. I think you're giving him too much credit. I think
Maybe.
I don't think he's playing mental chess in that regard. I think he's a bit of a simpleton, and he just kind of says whatever's on his mind.
Maybe, but I don't know. I tend
dude,
to like the guy.
If he orchestrated this whole thing, like orchestrated the drama he stirred up with his Hitler going fishing with Hitler comments, I would say he's brilliant.
Not brilliant. He's just copying Kanye.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah,
and by what I mean, but the Nazi thing, that's not even. I think that it was just so stupid. That was a guy working a podcast, and he's like, "Oh shit, I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say this." It's, his first episode. This is weird, but whatever.
Yeah, but then he backed it up with like 8 more statements. And even the guy, what is it, Rolly Delgado was on the podcast with him. He looked uncomfortable too.
I don't know.
Like,
Rolly Delgado.
Oh,
that's his coach, right?
A training partner or something. I don't know. Rolly had a little stint in the UFC as well.
I think that's his coach. That's the other thing that's impressive about Bryce is he's just doing this from the middle of Arkansas. I think he goes to Vegas every once in a while.
Yeah, that I think gets exaggerated when they show clips of him training and he's in like a 1-room gym with training with like 2 people. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're just watching YouTube and figuring out how to do jiu-jitsu.
No, I mean they showed him on Embedded this week, and it was like it looked like a normal gym, like the gym you train at, the jiu-jitsu gym you train at. It looked like that many people.
Yeah, I mean I saw a clip of him training with Jake Shields. So he's
yeah, that makes sense.
So he's getting, yeah, Jake Shields not making a lot of friends these days either.
Well, I think he goes to Vegas a lot, and Jake Shields is in Vegas, so it makes sense for him to be training with Jake Shields because they kind of fight the same way, kind of. I think Jake. I can't think of many Jake fights off the top of my head, but I'm imagining he might have been a better striker.
Yes, much.
But their grappling skill level is both high level grapplers.
Yeah, I mean Jake Shields, much higher level of grappling and wrestling, technique wise. Bryce Mitchell's wrestling is effective, but it's not technically sound.
The audience isn't gonna get this, but it's like Sky. It's weird, but it freaking works.
Yeah, it does.
It's like you don't know what the hell he's doing, and all of a sudden you're just stuck.
Yeah, he got you in a crucifix.
Yeah, except Bryce's it's the twister. There's just something still to this day. I would love to see you try to get out of Bryce Mitchell's twister. Because every time you see the twister, you're like, oh, just get out. You just stretch your leg, you're out. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You just get out. Just like Derek Lewis. Yeah, I'm sure Bryce Mitchell will be a really tough role. But rolling in MMA and rolling for jiu-jitsu are different things too. In any case, I hung out with Jake Shields before. He was a really cool guy to me, so he's okay in my book. He was drinking Jameson all night. I remember that.
I think he's just a guy that he just likes to ask questions.
Sure.
And if somebody says he likes to ask questions, and if somebody say, "Hey, you shouldn't be asking that question," that makes him want to ask that question even more.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think he meant to become like a political pundit. He just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, him and Ian Carroll kind of in the same boat. I don't know if you know who Ian Carroll is, but
yeah, vaguely.
He's kind of just a guy that was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast and figure out some weird stuff. And yeah, Jake Shields seems to be doing well. So, I mean, he's not fighting anymore. So good for him.
Yeah, he's just not going to get any sponsors from companies owned by Jewish people.
Yeah. I just wish he'd have more of the other. Like he needs. It's great that he has the one side on there. Just to have the other side on too. That's the only thing. I mean, I'm a subscriber of his podcast. He doesn't have any of the yin to the yang on the show.
Yeah, it does seem that way. All right, let's get into this co-main event. Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett. So it's kind of interesting, this fight coming together, because Chandler, we were kind of alluding to it earlier. The guy's had 6 UFC fights. He's lost 4 of them. And the only ones that he won were his debut against Dan Hooker, when I guess he still had a little bit of mystique behind him. And then Tony Ferguson, which I don't even really count a win over Tony Ferguson if it was in the last 3 years.
I don't think it was in the last 3 years.
It was in 2022. May. So next month will be 3 years.
It's funny how it doesn't even, if you go to Google, his UFC debut is like the first fight on his like profile they have for him.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting, Michael Chandler is interesting because the guy gets so much hate, but it's like, he's like a family man. He's got adopted children of color. And it seems like no matter what the guy does, people want to hate him.
Well, he's a cheater,
Yeah, that's the narrative, right? But
no, it's the narrative that's been brought up by 3 of the guys that he has fought.
mm-hmm.
Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and I forget the other one.
Oliveira.
Yeah, Oliveira. So it's like, and that's like, I should have clipped that. He dismisses it like, yeah, they're just haters. I'm like, well, no, it's the guys that you were fighting, but I also get he didn't win the fights that he's accused of cheating in. So
True.
So he's not benefiting from it. But before we talk about this any further, I did get a clip of him talking this week that I think is very important to hear.
Let's hear it.
And just last one for me. You said you had a book coming out, correct? And
this is going to be long, so if you want to cut it, cut it.
Yeah, not sure when it comes out, but we just finished the first final manuscript, so we're excited.
And you just had a song that's coming out too?
Yeah, well, actually, I have a song coming out Thursday at midnight with Akira the Down as well, and then I wrote a song with Red Farron, and yeah, a lot of stuff happening. So we got some good stuff.
Do you ever feel burnout at all? Because like juggling all that with getting in fist fights probably seems like a lot.
No, not really. I think I do, and I don't know if this is right. I got to really unpack it if I'm going to speak to young MMA fighters, but I do a really good job of compartmentalizing and decompressing. I do not live in the mixed martial arts gym. I believe if I lived in the mixed martial arts gym, my career would have ended a couple years ago because it's just too much toll on your body. So when I am outside of training camps, I'm doing a lot of strength and conditioning. I'm keeping my cardio up. I'm supplementing perfectly nonstop, and I'm eating what I should be eating to just look like a professional athlete so I can prolong my career. And taking little side projects. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman. I'm an investor. So I'm just doing all kinds of other things that make me feel alive and trying to serve as many people as I possibly can. And mixed martial arts, fighting in the UFC is just my shiny object that gets people to look my direction.
Okay. That's interesting. So he's doing a lot of supplementing. I mean, like maybe if he spent more time in the mixed martial arts gym, he wouldn't have to cheat and still lose. But I mean, I guess, he's still in a co-main event. So if his goal is to just get attention to whatever else he's doing, I guess mission accomplished.
That clip made me out. Like I started this week thinking like, oh, Chandler's got this. But then after listening to some people talk and, thinking about, well, Paddy is he's, I think I think I put him on lower on the pedestal because he's actually done his career correctly by raising the level of competition slowly. And this is definitely his biggest competition, but I just don't think a guy, Paddy has a mission to become the champion. And it just doesn't seem like Chandler, his head is in the game anymore. Yeah, he's in shape. Yeah, he can fight. But is he getting better? Because I mean, he hasn't been doing too good. Is he improving, or is he just like struggling to get back to where he used to be?
I mean, he basically admitted he's like, I don't train that much. I just take steroids.
Yeah, I don't train that much. I just take steroids, stay in shape, and I'm making a rap song.
Is it a rap song he's doing?
I don't know. I think I remember seeing it. I think no, it was in a music video, which that's fine. That doesn't take up a whole bunch of time. I think I remember seeing him in a music video, which is fun, I guess. But what's Michael Chandler gonna become a country star? I don't think so.
I mean, that's what I assumed it would have been, a country song.
But man, Paddy needs to definitely watch out in the first 5 minutes of this son of a bitch, though, because he's coming.
Yeah. I mean, I was worried about Paddy fighting Bobby Green because, of how he still fights with his chin straight up in the air. And I know he's...
Fuck, I forgot the clip.
Yeah, so there was a clip of him saying how he's a scouser and scousers don't get knocked out. And then Cody Garbrandt commenting on that. He's like, oh, yeah, he doesn't get knocked out because he's a sorcerer.
I find the sorcerer much better than the scouser. I don't know. You know what the thing that the insult Paddy has that I want to start using is call him a person a mushroom.
Yeah, that's a thing in England. They call people foods. Like, you're a sausage.
That's what he called Ilia Taporia a chorizo, which I found that pretty funny too. That's a Spanish sausage, but
yeah, I still don't get that joke. Like Tyson Fury does that too. He calls everyone a sausage. And
I don't think it's a joke. I think I saw a video of Paddy explaining it to Nina, and he's like, "We do this because we can get in trouble here for cursing, but a sausage is not a curse word, so you can just insult somebody with a non-curse word, so you don't go to jail." Which, damn, I'm glad we live where we live, that we don't have to worry about colleagues.
Broke ties with that in 1776.
Yeah.
Cook's Auto World says Paddy's going to sleep in round 1 or 2. I mean, that's very possible. Michael Chandler, I mean, put his UFC record aside, people forget this guy has incredible knockout power. I mean, he's got 11 knockouts. He knocked out Benson Henderson, who is a former UFC champion. He knocked out Dan Hooker. Let's see. Knocked out Patricky Pitbull over in Bellator. Submitted Eddie Alvarez. Yeah.
Remember, this is a pay-per-view, and you do have $1 to play somewhere. And Michael Chandler knockout in round 1 is $750, and round 2 is $1,100. So I don't think we talked about the odds.
Plus 1,100?
Yeah, for a knockout in round 2.
Damn. I'll take Michael Chandler knockout round 2. At plus 1,100? Yeah.
Okay.
What does that pay out?
Well, if you bet $1, you get 12.
Fuck yeah. Getting a little Caesar's pizza.
And while we're doing that and talking about it, I'm adding an extra bet in here for a prelim fight. And that is in the Jim Miller Chase Hooper fight, because Jim Miller is a plus 600.
Well, let's get to that in a minute. I'm still kind of. So, who are you picking in this fight?
Oh, I'm taking Paddy.
See, now I'm thinking about it. Like, how does Paddy get it done? Do you think he gets Chandler to the ground?
I think Chandler makes a stupid ass mistake in his chaos that ends up on the ground, and Paddy capitalizes on that.
See, that's more likely. But if Paddy has to rely on getting him to the ground, don't forget Chandler was an All-American wrestler in Missouri.
Yeah, but he hasn't wrestled in 10 years.
That does not
15
matter.
years. I think it matters.
That does not matter.
And we'll look at any of his fights. Where has he used his wrestling?
Who's taking him down?
Charles Oliveira, the jiu-jitsu guy, slammed him on his fucking head.
That's true. But didn't he rock him before that?
No, he did it like 4 times in that fight.
Oh, really? Okay.
And we're not talking like a cheap takedown either. We're talking a real deal takedown.
Yeah. Oliveira can wrestle, though. I don't know about Paddy's wrestling.
I don't know. I just feel like, one, there's nothing more the UFC wants than a Paddy Pimblett Conor McGregor fight. We don't have a star. Paddy Pimblett could be that superstar that they so desperately need. That we thought it was Sean O'Malley. It's not looking good.
You still got Pereira.
No,
Pereira's still a
he's nowhere
star.
close to Conor McGregor, and that's what they need.
Mm,
They need the big star. Paddy is that, especially if he fights a Conor McGregor. Which, in my eyes, there's only two fights Conor would ever take. It's Conor and Nate, but the Nate fight is probably not going to happen. I don't think it might happen. I don't think it's as powerful as it would have been, I don't know, a year and a half ago. I just, and then like the clip I played, I just don't see the it's kind of like Pitbull. It's just too late. It's done. We're done.
Here's the thing. I think Paddy wins. I just can't see how. Right? Because his striking's not better than Chandler's. His power's not better than Chandler's. Wrestling's not better than Chandler's. Yeah, his jiu-jitsu is better, but Chandler's only been submitted once in his career, and that was by who was piecing him up. So like, I do think Paddy wins. I just don't know how he gets done.
Yeah, I think it's.
I can't visualize a path to victory. I can visualize Chandler knocking Paddy out cold. That's a distinct possibility because we know Chandler has.
No, it's not. He's a sorcerer, Bill. We've already talked about this.
Oh, that's right. Sorcerers can't get knocked out.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main event because I'm pretty sure I know who you're leaning towards in this one. So the former champ Alexander Volkanovski, after a not so successful stint at lightweight, is fighting for the vacant title that was vacated by Ilia Topuria. So, man, Lopez is just so fucking big, man. 5'11" and 145 pounds. That's huge. His only blemish on his UFC record was his debut that he took on short notice against Movsar Evloev, and he won a lot of people over in that fight. And since then, he's been on a 5-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Wins over Dan Ige and Brian Ortega, very impressive. Volkanovski is on a different level from both of those guys, though.
Oh, isn't Ortega the closest guy that's taken the title away from Volkanovski?
What? Just because of that one guillotine attempt?
Yeah, you're right.
No.
Because we kind of thought Max won once, right?
Yeah, I think Max won twice against Volkanovski.
What do you think the odds
But-
are?
It's tough to say because Lopez is on such a hot streak. Volk has lost 3 of his last 4, but 2 of those were at lightweight. I think here's how I think it went down. I think Volk probably opened as a favorite, which caused money to come in on Lopez, and Lopez is now the favorite.
No, Volk opened a huge favorite. 200 plus 250, I think. And it's
You mean
narrowed
minus 250?
Yeah, minus 250, and it's narrowed its way to minus 142 to plus 120. But my pick, what do you think my pick is?
You're taking Lopez for sure.
I'm not only taking Lopez.
Cause tonight will be the night that
But it's my Mr. Jackpot's pick. I'm taking Lopez by knockout for plus 300.
Wow. Do you have a round?
No. And I think it's almost the exact same pick I have with the last fight. It's just too late. I think we underestimate how long these guys can stay at the top. And I think Volkanovski is just too many miles. Yes, he did take the proper amount of time off. So there's a possibility that we have Volk back. I just think once these guys get, I feel the same way in jiu-jitsu. Granted, I'm a mechanic that smokes and I'm hard on my body, where these guys are probably, even though they're hard on the bodies in training, they take care of it a lot better than I do. I just think like at these lower weights, they peak around 32, and then everything after that is just trying to get back to where you were at 32.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit older now. I think, when MMA started out, the prime was 32, but I think now we have more advanced recovery and things like that guys just weren't doing back then. Like for me, my peak was around 32, 30, 31, 32. But there wasn't, all this shit. There wasn't cryotherapy and, whatever else these guys are doing to take care of their bodies. There was nothing for recovery. Like you fucking drink a beer and go to sleep. Like that's recovery.
Yeah, but at these lower weights, even statistically, once you're, maybe the heavier weights, and that's why you see guys move up and
I'm not saying it went up a lot, but I'm saying it may have moved from 32 to 35.
maybe,
Where you kind of,
but not 36 with 2 knockouts and
sure. And here's another statistic that you may find interesting. The only 2 times Volkanovski has been knocked out are by guys who are taller than 5'10". He's been knocked out by Islam Makhachev, who's 5'10", and he was also TKO'd with a head kick by Corey Nelson in 2013, who happens to be 5'10". Diego Lopes, 5'11" tall.
Wow, Google has Lopez at 5'9".
Sherdog does not. And if you see these guys side by side, like Sherdog has Volkanovski at 5'6". I think that's an exaggeration.
Google has him at 5'5".
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can go like, if you look up like UFC press conference, you can see the weigh-in. It's not that big.
He's big.
Oh, he's big, but I mean, it's not like we're not dealing with the same difference in the Shawn Woodson fight in height.
No, but It is
But
a
yeah,
big.
but you ain't got to convince me. For my entire stint on this show, Diego Lopes is cashed, paid. It's fun to watch. He's a killer. I don't know why in the hell I keep thinking he's a fighting nerd. I swear to God, he was at one point, but you know, I'll stand with my Brazilian brother here, but not in.
So he is
fighting.
Brazilian, but he grew up in Mexico, right?
I think he's Brazilian, and he trains in Mexico.
Is that it? Okay,
Yeah.
so he's got some tie to Mexico.
He looks Mexican. He looks pretty Mexican, but I don't think he is. He is damn good fighter, though.
Yeah, his dad was a sailor. All right. So just to recap the picks, you're taking
I'm taking Reyes,
Reyes, Rodriguez,
Mitchell, Pimblett, and
Diego
Diego Lopes by knockout,
Mm.
and Jim Miller for fun.
Yeah. So you said you're going to throw Jim Miller in there. What were the odds on Jim Miller?
Plus 600.
Yeah. Man, the disrespect to Jim fucking Miller.
Yeah, that's the only reason why if I could, I should take all of my bets and just put them into the Jim Miller just because of the disrespect. And I don't have any problems with Chase Hooper. I enjoy watching him fight, but this is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's Jim fucking Miller.
Yeah, I mean he is on a 4-fight win streak. He did just submit Clay Guida, who's kind of in that same legendary journeyman category as Jim Miller. And Jim Miller in his 40s, is he not? 41. Yeah. My goodness. But Jim Miller coming off of a submission win over Damon Jackson. What a legend Jim Miller is. And he was asked about his comments about saying how he thinks that if you poke someone in the eye, you should be disqualified. And he talked about when he fought Cowboy Cerrone and he hit him with a body shot and he tried to push him away and accidentally, put a finger in his eye. He's like, that should have been, he's like, if I got disqualified for that, I would have taken it like a man because I didn't want to be in that situation anymore after he hit me to the body. It hurt. I tried to push him away any way possible. I put my finger in his eye. So if I got disqualified, I would have taken it. So like, I really respect a guy who, stands by his morals, even when it would be detrimental to him. And here's a guy also who, had a long losing streak in 2017, 2018, when he was battling Lyme disease and still competing at the highest level. So like, if you take out these, like he lost a close decision to Dustin Poirier, lost a decision to Anthony Pettis, lost a decision to Francisco Trinaldo, and then got knocked out by Dan Hooker. This was all during his Lyme disease era. And still the guy, 38-18, 41 years old, still getting in there. What a legend. Chase Hooper, on the other hand, I sent you the meme where it was like 25-year-olds now and 25-year-olds. And it was a picture of 25-year-old Don Fry just looking like fucking Paul Bunyan. And it's hard to believe that he's 25 years old because he still looks like a child.
Yeah, he still looks like it, but he's a smart guy. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny.
Chase Hooper, I just hope that doesn't end up being one of the guys that you're like, man, they just started him too young. Like
I do hope so too, because he he basically learned how to strike in the UFC.
Yeah, and he can grapple. Like he can.
Oh yeah, he can grapple with the best of them. Zionan Yan and Virna Jandiroba. Any thoughts on that one? It's kind of a fun fight.
My only thoughts, the other prop I have of this card is there are no DEI fights on the main card.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, to be honest. Darren Elkins, Julian Erosa. I like this one. Darren Elkins moving up to featherweight, no? Was he a bantamweight before?
I don't think so. The damage? Hell no.
Really?
A tattoo weighs 10 pounds.
He's also 40 years old. Oh, yeah, he was at 45.
Darren Elkins is a big underdog at plus 260.
As he should be. Julian Erosa is going to win that fight.
Oh, one of our favorites, Sumini Adarje, is on this card.
Oh, Sumaderji
He's a
against
good favorite.
Mitch Raposo. Imagine getting beat up by a guy named Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch and Keith, like any guy named Mitch or Keith, they should just be deported with these Trento Agua people.
Tucker. I remember George Carlin.
Tucker's up in the air. They need to have a trial. Mitch or Keith, straight on the plane.
George Carlin used to have a bit about people named Tucker. He'd say, "Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks." Sadiq Dumas and Mikhail Olajanchik. I like that fight. That's going to be a fun fight. Tresean Gore coming back. This guy, came off the Ultimate Fighter, and he seems, like he could have been pretty solid. And then,
yeah, now he's sitting on the early prelims with a plus 300 beside him.
Yeah, I mean, made his UFC debut. It was lost the Ultimate Fighter finale to Brian Battle in 2022 and only fought 3 times since, but submitted Josh Fremd and submitted Antonio Trocoli. Tresean Gore was a guy that I thought was gonna make more of a name for himself, but just kind of fell off, I guess. And then there's some clam fight in the opener that I don't care about.
We're over an hour. We're good.
Yeah.
Starting to get a rash.
I think you should be careful. I hope you wash that thing before it arrives from your Dell support guy that sewed it together.
Oh.
All right. Anything else you want to get off your chest?
No.
All right. Well, I guess grab all the Buffalo Trace products you can because those prices are going to go up. You heard it here first. And I'm going to enjoy UFC 314. And I hope you all do as well.
One more thing. My beautiful wife, Stacy, is turning 40 this weekend. Just wanted to give her a shout out. Happy birthday. I love you.
No, she is not. She's turning 30, right?
Yeah, 30. Yeah, you're right.
Well, happy birthday, Stacy. You don't look a day over 30. 29.
She's passed out on the couch right now.
All right. Well, tell her when she wakes up.
I will.
And that's all we got. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.